Hey everybody. Well, we've made it. We've made it to the season finale of season 2 of this podcast. I really enjoyed getting to know the HBCU band family and hearing their stories. I will say that it has been a welcome distraction from some of the stresses of my daily life. And so it's really good to, get to learn more about people. And I get to share it with you all. So again, I want to thank you all for supporting this podcast and spreading the word and, liking it on social media and offering suggestions. I really, really appreciate that. So I'm going to take a little break for a bit. But I will be back with season 3 of the podcast real soon. My hope is to do it, let's say, summertime. Let's get some interviews in before some of these band directors have to report to the camp. Hopefully things will be in better shape as far as the pandemic and that they'll be able to have regular camps, but we'll see. This week, I am going to close with what I call a HBCU band celebrity. At least she is in my eyes. A lot of people know her. She is very well known in the MEAC and the SWAC. I'm talking about the one, the only, Stephanie Sanders, who is an associate director of bands at Norfolk State. She graduated from Jackson State. She's taught at Alcorn. I mean, she's just been everywhere. So she is very well known, and I'm not going to delay this anymore. Here's my interview with the one, the only Stephanie Sanders. I'm really excited about this. Okay, take care, everybody. So I'm here with my friend Stephanie Sanders, who is...
Good afternoon.
Yes. Stephanie is one of my favorite people. Very animated. I love talking to her. She is currently, you're the associate director?
I'm the associate director of bands, assistant professor of music, and then I'm the director of the jazz ensemble as well.
Okay, at Norfolk State University. Okay.
At Norfolk State. Yes, I'm sorry. I got so many slashes.
Yes, yes, you're hyphenate. Let me find out.
Yeah. Too many hats.
Yes. So I'm glad you're here. So we're going to get right into it. So, I think people are going to want to know your story. Like, I mean, you're famous in the band world. I think you're famous in the band world, but, I think people kind of want to know like your background and all that good stuff. So let's start off. And before I even go there, like you're a saxophone player. That's your main instrument. I know you play more.
No, actually saxophone and bassoon. Oh yes, that paid for all my schooling now.
Okay. All right. We'll get into that. Okay. Where's your hometown?
My hometown. I'm gonna sound like a military brat, but we have not been in any part of the military. I was born in Anderson, Indiana. I lived in Gary, Indiana. My mother got remarried, and she married a mayor. She met him at a mayor's convention. Isn't that cool?
That's crazy.
And so we moved to Houston. So that's how I moved. He wasn't the mayor of Houston, though. But he was the mayor. He was the mayor of Ames, Texas. And Ames, Texas ain't but that big. But he won by a landslide because his family is all of Ames. So he won. So we moved to Houston. And so that's why I always claim Houston all the time.
How old were you approximately like when you moved to Houston? Is that like where you spent most of your family?
About 11.
Okay.
So that's why I claim that the longest. About 11. Yeah, went to high school for the performing arts in Houston for high school. And then went to Jackson State for undergrad. And then went to University of Houston for grad school.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, so let's go back to when you decided to play the sax. Like, was that your first musical instrument?
Look, I'm gonna tell you the story. I tell people that, people say, "Oh, was that your first love?" No, that was not my first love. Now, my mother bought me a piano that I still have to this day. Okay. I still have my piano. She got that for me in the 4th grade. So I started off with piano. I like piano, but I kind of wanted, they give you those aptitude tests, to see if you want to be in band or you want to be in choir. And so I said, I sang, but I really wanted to do band. And so we took our little music test and they said, "Oh, you're so good." And I said, well, I wanted to play percussion. Well, my mom didn't know that you didn't start like on either like marimba or xylophone, or you start on snare drum. She just thought drum set. So she was like, oh no, that's just too much. So that was out. And then I really wanted to play the trombone so bad. Oh Lord, I wanted to play trombone, but I could not buzz for nothing at that time. And so the polo man, he was so nice. He said, well, I think you should try the woodwind instruments. He was just being nice to say, oh no. So when we got to the woodwind instruments, all the girls played flute. I was like, oh hell, I don't want to play flute. And in my family, a lot of people played clarinet. So I knew I did not want to play clarinet at all. So I became a renegade and played the saxophone. So I started with saxophone and did good with that. And I had a really good teacher in elementary school and in middle school. And so I didn't start bassoon. Well, I did saxophone first. Then I did flute. I actually did flute because at the high school where I was, for the jazz band, every saxophonist had a double on something. It either had to be flute or it had to be clarinet. So I said, oh no, we still kind of have feelings on that clarinet. So I said, we do flute. So I did flute, and I did flute for a while. And then I miss my teacher, Timothy Toll. He was my symphony band director. And he said, Stephanie, I need to challenge you. I'm going to give you an instrument. And he says, I'm not going to give you, we didn't have the internet and YouTube and all that stuff back then. So he says, look, if you can put it together, didn't give me any directions or anything. He said, if you can put it together and if you can play 3 notes, I will pay for your first 4 lessons. And that wasn't nothing but a challenge to me. So I said, okay. So I put that, I just put it together. And I was like, what the hell is this? This look like a damn gun. And then I put the reed on and I played, just trying to play around with it. And I said, okay, I played Mary Had Little Lamb. I said, oh, we got 4 lessons down. And then I played the bassoon and played in wind ensemble. And then the orchestra director found out that I started on bassoon. He was like, look, I know you don't know all of the instrument yet, but I need you to play every note on that page. I don't care if you don't know any other notes. I just need the notes that are on this page of this music. And that's how I learned real quick, because I was just, learning the fingerings to just learn to play in the orchestra, and I loved it. And so that's how I got really, excited with bassoon. So I do both. And then I did clarinet and oboe in college. Right. So that was fun. So and then I was like, okay, I got it now. We're going to keep all the woodwinds down. Right. So that's how I got all the instruments.
Okay, that is awesome. So you first learned sax. That was like in elementary school, like 3rd grade or something like that.
That was 4th grade. I did saxophone first.
Okay. And about your high school, you said you went to a performing arts high school?
Yeah, I went to performing arts high school. Yeah, the high school for the performing arts in Houston. And so I played in jazz ensemble, wind ensemble, orchestra, Lord Jesus, and everything else, we did like for the show band, for the choir, we played in it for that and all other things. So, and then, just my mom, I thank God for my mom. My mom put me in everything.
She's a sweet lady. I remember meeting her a while back.
Yeah. Hey, look, that's why I call her my queen bee, honey, because she keeps our hive together. And she exposed me to stuff. And I'm going to tell you a funny story, Christy. For years, my mother would take me to the ballet, to the orchestra, and take me to go see the Nutcracker every year. And I was so blessed. 12 years ago, when I started playing with the symphony here, and I got to play the Nutcracker. So I flew her down. Oh, I started crying. I said, Ma, all these years you've taken me to see Nutcracker, and now you get to see me perform in Nutcracker. And so that, she's really come to actually every major event that I've had in life. I've been blessed with that. And so like I tell people, while your parents are living, take advantage of being with them, because they're not only the wealth of knowledge, but just, just to have your family around, especially during this COVID, because she lives in Mississippi. So I just worry about her a lot. So I went down, for a break and go and see her.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So how did you first hear of Jackson State? And then did you know that you wanted to study music when you went to college? Like, tell me about your path to college.
Okay. And I knew I wanted to do music of some sort. I just didn't know what, I really wanted to just perform. Now I'm just going to honestly say, I just wanted to perform. I didn't want to teach. And I wanted to go, with the performing arts, you got all of the colleges coming in to get the kids for college. So I auditioned for Carnegie Mellon, and I got a full scholarship at Carnegie Mellon. And she said, Stephanie, she was a single parent. She says, I'm too scared to send you all the way up to Pennsylvania by yourself, and I don't have any contacts up there. Then Howard came to my school, and Howard at that time was the only HBCU that actually came to our school for years. So they wined and dined, took my mama out for lunch and dinner and everything. Well, my mama said, oh, I can't release her to the dinner wolves out there in DC. Yeah. And so it was so funny. I had auditioned for Jackson State, if you can believe this, Christy, in middle school. Jackson State came to Houston. My mom was big with the Alumni Association. So they came in town, and of course the band came. And so she said, well, I want you just to audition for the department chair. So these folks thought I was a daggone senior in high school. I was just in the 8th grade, girl. And so I had auditioned. And they said, well, you ready to go to school? And I'm like, I'm ready to go to high school. And they said, oh, we got 4 more years. I said, yeah. And they said, I promise you. They said, when you graduate, you have a full ride to come to school. My mom and my dad are both alum. Mm-hmm. And so when they said, well, she said, I really would like for you to go somewhere that's kind of close. It wasn't close, but it, from Houston. And I had family there. So if anything went down, and she got some of her girlfriends and her friends there. So if something were to go down, but to be away from home. And man, that was the best opportunity for me to go to Jackson, and I loved all my 4 years being there.
So let's talk about your freshman year at Kent, or at Kent when you first got to Jackson.
Girl, let me tell you. My mother she warned me. She said, Stephanie, I need you to start exercising and getting ready for band camp. Well, I went to performing arts school. We don't have a football team. We didn't have, that's our joke at the high school. We got an undefeated team because we don't have no team. So she said, start exercising. She brought me, and Christy, I never wore really pants and shorts because I wore skirts all the time. Not a religious thing, but that was just my thing. And then plus my bassoon teacher, I wanted to be like her. So she wore skirts and Converse. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to be just like her. So I had my skirt and Converse. I rode the bus to Jackson by myself first. Mm-hmm. Got to the bus station downtown and had to ride the taxi over, and I got to the school, and I'm like, oh Lord, this place looks like a prison. I just, kind of scared me. I get there, put my stuff in the dorm and everything, and then go down to the music building to register for band camp. So I had my saxophone. So they're like, hey girl, what's that in your case? And I'm like, who the hell is this? And I'm just like, why you keep asking me all these questions? And it was getting on my nerves. And I was like, it's none of your business. You'll see when I open up my case. People just, but how upperclassmen are. They just trying to find out who they are and everything.
Right.
Girl, we get into that room for orientation. And they were like, let me introduce you to our section leaders. And I was like, oh.
You stepped in it now.
It was good. But I was like, oh my God, this is going to be hell. Girl. And then we had, got everything together. Now, mind you, I still had my skirt and my Converse on. Had a Jackson State sweatshirt, had a skirt on, and had some Converse. Mm-hmm. Girl, our drum major, Ira Vaughn, that's my buddy to this day. He says, okay, we're getting ready to do a tour on the campus. And I was like, yes, I get to see what the buildings look like. Christy, they started running. And I'm like, what y'all doing? Why is everybody running? And they were like, come on, crab, let's go. Girl, I huffed and I puffed. Oh, I puffed and puffed so hard. And it was so funny. I was not used to really exercising like that, okay? Mm-hmm. And then not only that, I was actually, Christy, I was much bigger when I was in school than I am now. I was much bigger. So, of course, my thighs kind of rubbed together. Girl, I thought my thighs were on fire.
Yeah.
They were on fire because I had never, had to do that exercising and stuff like that.
Yeah, that shaking is no joke. Yeah.
You know, now they got rub for that and powder and all. Girl, you know, back then it was nothing but Vaseline and baby powder. That's all.
Right.
Ooh, and just pray to get touch. So that night from exercising and stuff, I called my mom on the payphone. I said, Mom, I want to go home. And she said, you don't think you can make it? I said, Mom, you need to send me a bus ticket or a train ticket or a plane. She said, well, do you think you can make it to the end of the semester? And I was like, I don't know. She said, well, I got a deal for you. She says, look, try to see if you can make it to the end of the semester. And if it doesn't work out, I promise you, I'll bring you home. And I was like, okay, I can't say nothing. You know, my mom worked hard. I got a full scholarship, so I can't knock this out, you know. So, girl, I got introduced to Mr. Adams. Mr. Adams was one of my directors at the time. If it wasn't for him and Martha Collier, who was the clarinet section leader at the time, if it wasn't for those two, I wouldn't have stayed with the band. Adam said, look, I know this is a transition for you, but I think you can make it. And I know it's going to take you some time to, you know, just get in with the school, a new sense of being by yourself and a new, you know, just a new way of doing things. And if it wasn't for him and Martha Collier, I wouldn't have stayed with the band, Christy. So that's how and look, get this. My freshman year did all of that and then became section leader, head section leader, girl, sophomore year. Wow. And I was like, yes, because both of my section leaders they graduated. Yeah, Brian Easter and Benny Reeves, they graduated. And after that, oh girl, I was like, okay. And thank God that I had a wonderful experience my freshman year. It was a hard transition for me because I kept to myself. And then also my mindset of college was a little different, you know, because look now, you and I know when we were in band was from like 6 p.m. until
yes.
Well, you know, I practiced after band practice. And so they were looking at me like, you not going to go party or nothing? No, I need to get this in. So I would practice until the janitors would, you know, come and knock on the door and they would say, Stephanie, we're getting ready to close the building down.
So the janitors knew your name?
Well, I'm the only person up in the practice room after band practice.
Wow. That's no joke, man.
And so luckily at that time, I had dated my boyfriend at the time. He was so sweet. He said, Stephanie, he would always give me a quarter, Christy. And he said, call me in the dorm. And his dorm was right across the street from the music building. And he would walk me to my dorm. And I love Anthony DeHue, bless his soul. Yep, I sure do.
Yeah.
That was my freshman year, girl.
That was freshman year. So yeah, let's talk about some of the games that you had. So I mean, I know that you got rivalries with Southern, you got the rivalries with Alcorn.
My freshman and sophomore year honestly were, because our football team was actually pretty good. So we went to Circle City Classic up in Indianapolis. So that's when we got to go to the big games. And that's the first time I ever saw Bethune-Cookman. I didn't know they were so huge. I was like, whose band is? You know, we were huge too.
Right.
And we did the NBA All-Star game.
Oh.
That was fun. That was actually in Charlotte. That was in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Did you get to meet the athletes? Did they come by and did they like say?
Oh man, look, Christy, we thought we were just royalty. And then they gave us, you know, because we couldn't track with our shoes on the court, they gave us the referee tennis shoes. So, you know, we didn't, and they were all black, girl, you couldn't tell us nothing.
Wow.
And so, and we had the best time. Lord Jesus. What else did we do? We went on tour a lot of places. When I was in school, like with jazz band, we went to the International Association of Jazz Educators Convention. We played for them twice. Jazz band, we went to the New Orleans Jazz Festival. That was fun. Okay. And we got to open up twice for Count Basie's band. Oh my God. Oh. Yes. And who would have thought that at the last time, Frank Foster was the lead tenor. Well, anyway, he was the leader of the band at the time. I did not know he lived in Chesapeake, Virginia, girl. I tell you how the world is so small.
Wow.
He remembered me all those years. So when I got to Norfolk State, his niece was trying to see, you know, just to connect since he lived here in Chesapeake. And we met. He says, girl, I know you. And I was like, oh my God. So he did week residencies with us. And I mean, it was just, it was a blessing.
See, but, I told you were famous. I told you you were famous.
He said, "You're so crazy." But I mean, I would have never thought, Christy, that I would have done marching band. You know, the orchestra, jazz ensemble, wind ensemble, and the chamber groups and stuff. I knew I was going to do that. And I really didn't know that I was going to be in education at all. I took Mr. Adams' class. Mr. Adams' class was the class before you do your student teaching. And I knew then that I was not going to be in education. I was like, we're going to be performing. We're just going to perform. Mr. Adams said, you know what? You're going to be in education and you going to love it. I'm like, whatever, get real. And then my teacher was like he was a doubler like me. John Paul Jones, Dr. John Paul Jones. He was over like the Mississippi Fair. He was big with the military. And man, he just exposed me to different stuff. And he said, come on, Steph, come on, go with me. He said, you help me do so and so. And man, I just was exposed to the military life that I didn't know about until I moved here to Norfolk, because I wasn't exposed to, the military and things of that nature. And I tell my students to this day, they didn't know, because I tell people if students have an opportunity to play in the service bands, if you can do it, I would preferably like them to get their bachelor's degree so it'll pay for school, and then they can be commissioned a little bit higher up, from having the degree. So my teacher asked me, he said, Stephanie, what you want to do? I said, well, I'm going to grad school because I finished in December. I said, I'm going to grad school in January. He said, well, Stephanie, I want you to have some options. He said, audition for the Navy band. I was like, okay. And I made the Navy band, Christy, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't mentally or physically ready to do Navy band.
Oh my goodness. I could not watch the military. That's funny.
I would have retired. I would have probably retired from the military. If that probably would have been my route. And so, they said, well, can you lose this much weight by, boot camp? I'm like, no. I said, I don't think this is not going to be for me, but I appreciate the opportunity. So I still got my letter. I show my students to this day. They were like, oh, Miss Sanders. I said, yeah, because I talked to my friends, because she said, girl, you would have been my boss. I said, that's all right. So, yeah, but man, I had some, Christy, I tell anybody, if you have a chance to go to an HBCU, it's a wonderful experience. And it's the time that you get to learn about yourself, how to interact with others. And then you learn about your passion. What is your passion? Now, of course, being in college, you change it 50 million times, but you get to learn what you want to do, what kind of direction you want to go in. And man, it's been a wonderful experience. And I've just been blessed to have good teachers, and who'd ever thought that 20 years later, I would have been working with Mr. Adams.
Okay, so you finish your bachelor's degree. Do you go straight into master's program?
In December, and January 4th, I went to grad school right in the spring.
Okay.
And I went straight through school. And after I went straight through school, I got out. And actually, while I was in graduate school, one of my former mentors from Texas Southern left Texas Southern and went and got a new high school in Houston. And so he says, Stephanie, he says, look, I need you to do an in-service for me to teach these band directors how to play double reed instruments. And I was like, okay, cool. And so the workshop went fabulous. And so he says, Stephanie, look, would you like to teach private lessons for our school district? And I was like, oh, okay, I'll do it. And that's how I started getting, I taught private lessons at first. But while I was in grad school, I went to school during the day, taught school in the afternoon, and then I gigged at night.
Yeah, because you have a very healthy gigging career. So how did you get into that?
Try to handle it. I tell people to this day, it's prayer and vitamins. That's what works. Prayer and vitamins work a lot. So I did that. And then once I got out of school, I taught school. And then my godmother, who's an alumnus of Alcorn, she said, Stephanie, go on and apply for the job. So I went down to Alcorn. Alcorn is in the middle of nowhere. Lord Jesus, and I'm coming big Houston girl. So I said, oh Lord, I don't know if I can do this. I said, but you know what? I want to try it. If it doesn't work, I can go back and teach school or go home, whatever. And when I had a taste of teaching on a college level with teaching jazz ensemble, I was like, you know what? I think I really want to try this full time. So that's how I got, with the Alcorn gig. And it was the best 3 years of my life. Oh, I loved working with Samuel Griffin. And it was a wonderful experience. And we had a huge band, girl. They were like 350 in the band. Because, we could waive out of state fee. And so, I recruited all in Houston. I just got all my babies and came because I knew them, from teaching public school. I knew the kids. So not only just Houston, but just everywhere. So it was just a wonderful experience. And so look, my third year teaching at Alcorn, this is a funny thing. This is how we get to Mr. Adams. Mr. Adams called out the blue. And I said, okay, hey, Mr. Adams, how you doing? And he's just a genius. And he said, Steph, I want you to look up a city. And I'm like, okay, sometimes he just asks random things. And then he says, I want you to look up a city. And I said, okay. He said, I want you to look up Norfolk, Virginia. And then he hung up the phone. I was like, okay. I don't know anything about Norfolk, and that was when the internet just started, So I, pulled up a little information and found out it was the biggest naval base and, all of that good stuff. So just did my assignment for Mr. Adams. So when he called me back about a month or two later, and he said, Stephanie, I want you to apply for this job. And I was like, well, I got a good job where I am. He says, I want you to apply for this job. And he says, Mr. Hester have retired. And he says, I want you to apply for the job and, keep your skills up with interviews and all of that stuff. And plus get a nice trip, go to the beach.
See, you see how he does stuff. He ain't slick.
Look, recruited me just like a student. Anyway.
Yep, that's Mr. Adams. That's how he rolls.
And so I got up there, and I was like, okay, this is a nice area, And he said, how'd your interview go? I said, my interview went really, really well. I said, it was one man that just kept asking me all these questions. I found out that was Mr. Hester. I guess, he just wanted to know. And so he came into the conference room, and he said, Paul, you picked a good one. And that's how I got the job at Norfolk State.
Wow.
And I didn't want to leave really. And because I didn't want Mr. Griffin from Alcorn to think that, I'm using this as a stepping stone, because I really wasn't. I wasn't looking for a job or anything. And so I told him, and he told me, he says, look, you will never get an opportunity like this ever. He said, just do it. He says, if they don't treat you right, you can come back and get your same job. Now, how many people will tell you to leave one job, to do something better? And if it doesn't work out, you come back and get your job.
See, that's a blessing right there.
Look, and Christy, that was 21 years later.
I've been at Norfolk for 21 years. Oh my gosh.
21 years, girl.
Okay, it makes sense now that I think about it. But wow, 21 years. That's time flew by. Because I remember being, I was in Norfolk area.
Yeah.
In fact, I was teaching at Norfolk State in 2001. I taught in 2001 and 2002 and 2003. So I had some folks in my class. I still keep up with some of them. Yeah.
Oh, yes, ma'am. It's been 21 years. So it's been a blessing. It's really been a blessing. And it was so funny because when I first got here, I got really homesick because this has been the furthest that I've been. And my grandmother at that time lived in Manhattan. So that was the closest relative. And so Mr. Adams said, he said, Stephanie, Maxine and I will be your family. And that's how it was. And that's how we became, that's how I came to Norfolk State. And so it's been a blessing. It's been a real blessing.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So let's talk about your time at Norfolk State. What are some of the memorable performances?
Since I've been there, of course, just the band in general, the entire time. We marched the Mardi Gras parade.
Yeah.
I'm an honorary citizen of New Orleans. So the mayor gave us all citations for that. So that's why I love New Orleans. Let me see. We did Mardi Gras. Of course, we did Honda 2 times. Oh Lord, we've done so much stuff. Our video with Justice. Oh Lord, that was exciting. That was about maybe 3 years ago. Maybe 3 years ago. That was an opportunity to do that. Karen Clark Sheard doing halftime with her. Oh, Layla Hathaway. Lord have mercy.
Oh, I love her.
Oh Lord, Mr. Adams wrote her arrangements. And we did halftime with her. Man, we've had some. It's so many things.
Yeah.
Oh, a jazz band got to open up for Cornel West. Oh, that was exciting.
Oh, okay.
Man, we've just had some good stuff over the years. Going to the Villanova Jazz Festival, taking them. We were the first HBCU to go to the Villanova Jazz Festival. Man, I was so blessed in 2005. The saxophone quartet we had at the time took them to the International Association of Saxophone, and they were the first HBCU to perform for the festival.
That's awesome.
Oh man, it was so funny because we had the highest attendance of the college students that came. Mm-hmm. And Mr. Adams said, yeah, you're going to be the number one because they want to see what these brown faces can do at this.
You know it.
It's festival. And we did Virginia Music Educators Association. We did the conferences. We did that twice. Man, Frank Foster do that. We got to meet Slide Hampton. We went to UNCW for their jazz festival. Met Slide Hampton, who was the guest artist at the end. And then we won that. And so he was like, can I use your trombonist for the night? And I was like, of course, you can use my trombone section, because they were just, they went crazy. And then he said, well, did you bring your horn with you? I said, oh, I always bring my horn. He said, well, I need you to play with me tonight. And I was like, So I got to play with Slide Hampton. I mean, it's just, I've had wonderful, man, Kirk Whalum, he's a good mentor of mine. And he came to town. He said, Steph, I need a couple of things. I need my haircut. I need you to take me a soul food restaurant, and I need to go get some batteries. I say, okay, because at that time, Radio Shack was still open in MacArthur Mall. So I took him to Capital Cuts to get his haircut.
Yeah.
And then we went to, the soul food restaurant is not open anymore. Was it Big Daddy's at that time? It was a little further down the street. We got soul food. He says, I'm straight. So he did workshops for us, and then gave the kids front row tickets that night. They were elated. When Marcellus came to CNU, I said, look, I got some kids. I said, the first year came, and I said, well, I just got a van load of kids. I just want them to meet you and just to be around you, to get his aura. They loved it. And Lord, he said, well, we coming back next year. He said, you want to come and have some tickets? I was like, no, you ain't telling me but a thing.
Yeah.
So, then Christy, I got a bus load. Then I got a bus to go.
See, you see how Black people do. You know what? Give them an inch.
You don't tell me anything. Like I tell the students, look, I'll get you together. I'll find the money. However we find the money, we're going to get it. I said, I need the product ready. So you just be ready. So when I say, let's go. And so it's just been really been a blessing being here in Virginia. I would have never thought that I would have been here 21 years, I figured, I said, maybe 3 years, 5 years. And then, 21 years later.
So you've never had an interest to be a head director? It's just not your thing?
I have at one time, honestly, Christy, and I actually had one time that I wanted to be department chair, but it's a heavy responsibility. And I'll say this, as much as I performed, I know I wouldn't be able to perform. I took the head job. At one time, I really did want it, but the Lord has a master plan, and that just wasn't my plan, honestly. Did it hurt me a little bit? It stung a little bit, but I said, the Lord has me here for a reason, and just has me doing things in life for a reason. So things just happen, I don't want to say, but have I wanted to? Oh, of course.
Well, you're human. I mean,
I know I wouldn't be able to perform, because I get out of there and perform a gig in a minute.
And your students love you. I know that. I mean, I've seen it firsthand, so maybe it is you're where you're supposed to be. And I'm so glad that you have the relationships with those students.
Yeah, I love them. I give them respect, first of all, and then you have to teach them. And especially even with this generation now, they're so, I don't want to say the word limited, but they're just not exposed to a lot of things. And I want you, especially with being at HBCU, I want you to be so prepared. So when you get out there in the workforce, or when you get out there in grad school, or you do whatever, you are qualified, all right? And then also, you are also knowledgeable of your field. and it's hard being out there. And it's nice when you have people say, well, we need a music educator for so-and-so. Oh, we got 2 that graduated, or, looking for a job, or, anything. And then what's so funny, Christy, I tell people all the time, people just think the band is just full of music majors. I say 85% of the band are just students, regular students on campus. We recruit for Norfolk State, so we've got kids in all the different fields. So Lord Jesus, if I get sick, I know I got some doctors and some nurses, I got some lawyers, I got some CPAs, I got all the fields covered. One of my students last year did her internship with USC, and she had her presentation on Zoom, and she said, Miss Sanders, would you come? I said, yes, I'm gonna be there, and I'm gonna be there with bells on. So I'm typing every 5 minutes. Congratulations! Oh, I see it. The report is great. Yes. And she said, Miss Sanders, I was so proud just to have somebody there to know, And I said, look, I'm so proud of you. I said, I want you all to do well, and just represent the university and just represent yourself, It's just an exciting time.
And you gig, tell me about your gigging real quick. So I know you are in like lots of different ensembles. So tell me a little bit about some of the performances you've been in.
Ooh, Jesus, I got a lot. Okay. I play with the Symphonicity. I play with Symphonicity on bassoon. I play with Tidewater Winds. I play bassoon with them. That's a concert band. I play with them. We have a Hampton Roads Woodwind Quintet. So we just got together and we've been doing that. And actually it was so funny. We got together because HBCU had a Villanova festival. And so we wanted to play the quintet for the festival. And that's how we got together. And I said, well, look, we can do this on a more permanent thing. And so that's how we became the Hampton Roads Woodwind Quintet. We did that. I play with Rod Jazz, that's the R&B smooth jazz group. And then I play with Rod Jazz Unplugged. So that's just, jazz and smooth jazz. I play with them.
And you all did the Hampton Jazz Festival too, right?
Yes, we did. Oh, that was, it was so fun to open up for Jill Scott and Kim and Dave Kaz. And man, I got to meet so many people backstage. It was so fun, and they are such nice people. And I've opened up for Jonathan Butler. I've opened up for Kirk Whalum, Rick Braun. We opened up, oh man, let me tell you a funny story. We opened up for the American Music Festival that's on the beach every year. We opened up for Boys to Men. Well, the drummer for Boys to Men ended up playing for Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder came to town in 2009. And so one of my students, one of my former students, he said, because he knew I loved Stevie Wonder. And Miss Sanders, I know you want to go see Stevie Wonder. I said, hell yeah, they were at ODU. They said, well, what you doing that night? I said, I'm not doing anything. So come on and sit with us in the VIP. I said, oh Lord. So we went to the concert. Stevie Wonder opened up at 7:30, no opening act, and sang from 7:30 to 10:30. And I did not sit down the entire night. Wait, this is the funny story, girl. We get finished after the concert. We walking out. And a guy sees me, he says, I know you. And I'm like, damn, I know you too. He said, you opened up for us when I played with Boys to Men. I said, oh my God. I said, you remembered me? He said, yeah. I said, I can't forget a female saxophone player. And he said, well, what you doing tonight? I said, well, I'm getting ready to go home. He said, well, the musicians, we're going to stay up until we leave because we're going to leave about 4:00 in the morning. He said, you want to hang with us? I was like, I want to hang with y'all. So I hung with them all night. Christy, that's the first time I have ever excused classes because I was so tired. Because I had, I didn't get finished with them. They left late. They got finished at 6 something. They left about 6:20, something like that. I have jazz band on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:30 in the morning. Oh, I was fit to be tired. My eyes were rolling out the back of my head. Wow. And that's the first time I have ever excused class. And they were like, and I told them, and I was like, guys, I am so raggedy. And I'm sorry, but we're just gonna have to miss class today. They were like, what? And then I told them the story. They were like, oh, we understand. Wow.
Well, I guess if there's any reason to cancel class, it would be for that.
Yeah. So, and I invite the kids to stuff too. So they've, been able to see and they were like, oh, I didn't know that these people were so nice. And I was like, yeah, good people. It's been a real good blessing.
Well, you know what? I'm just going to close there. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Oh, I enjoyed myself. Thank you for asking me. I feel honored.
Oh, sweet. Well, hey, not every day you get to talk to a celebrity like Stephanie. You have listened to the HBCU Band Experience with Christy Walker. Interviews and editing conducted by yours truly, Dr. Christy Walker. The music is District 4 by Kevin MacLeod, and you can find this podcast on HBCUbandexperience.podbean.com. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts. Take care.